So yeah, and that and that is how, I got complimentary breakfast for the next month at the Sheraton Inn Hotel. uh,
Nice.
oh,
Try
hey.
getting free night access to the Caesar Palace.
That's another story for another time. Oh, hey guys, didn't see you there. Just caught us mid conversation about this really cool story I was telling. Anyways, welcome back to Stat. Episode 97. Don't know how to start this one. But we're talking about Oscar bait. Oscar bait, they say. Brandon.
Norman Bates.
Norman Bates. Mormon Bates. We're talking about Mormon bait today. What do you think? What do you guys think is Mormon bait?
Norbit.
Norbit is Mormon bait? The Mormons are just gonna love this one. The Mormons love Norbit?
I don't
Mormon
think
love
so.
Norbit?
I don't believe so.
Norman. My Mormon loves Norbit.
What do you think is a Mormon's favorite movie?
Norbit.
It's Napoleon
Well,
Dynamite.
It's Napoleon.
Father's
It
Day.
is Napoleon Dynamite. That and Polar Express. They love that. They'll eat the shit up. Or let me see. They love Elf too. I think
Narnia.
Narnia maybe.
Narnia, not Golden Compass. That's for sure. They don't like that one.
I'm looking over the movies that my grandma gave to me because she was Mormon when she passed away.
She was.
The Help.
The Help.
Yeah, no, that's just a white people
Singing
movie.
in the Rain. They love that one. Let's see.
Everybody likes that one though.
It's true.
Yeah, it's on the Sight and Sound list, right?
Is it
Chris,
really?
you never told us. Chris never told us.
Oh,
about this
I'd
list.
love to make mine.
Oh,
You
I
haven't
thought
made it
you
yet?
did. I thought you were like,
I'm not.
hey, you had it and you were ready.
No.
How are we feeling about the Sight and Sound? I only know the number one pick, and I gotta say, I haven't seen the movie. They're fucking wrong. Bold pick. Bold pick for number one. I don't know. Greatest film of all time is that?
I mean,
Wow.
it's good. It's just like I saw it this year because I was trying to go through a bunch of movies that I hadn't seen that were high up on critic lists and stuff.
Yeah,
and that
it's
was one
John
of them.
Dielman, by the way, for their listeners.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's just a really slow movie about like a woman baking and doing homely activities and then also sleeping with men to pay for stuff. But they don't like show that. It's just like it's implied. And it's like thematically what it's saying, it's kind of interesting, but I wouldn't say it's best. I think it's better than Vertigo, personally.
was
But
that
I don't
number
think
two?
it. Yeah, and I prefer Citizen Kane to both of those movies, which was the previous number one before Vertigo.
Hmm.
So, I've seen 68%, so 68 of the 100. Pretty good picks in here. It's very spread out. I don't get why people are so upset all the time
Yeah.
about this stuff. It's just like it's so hard to pick 100 movies anyway that are great, especially if you're like a film lover. Like it's hard to pick 10. So like, why would you get mad at somebody for picking 10 movies that are
Yeah.
all great? Like, I don't think anybody picked Norbit. Like,
Damn.
you know what I mean?
I made
Yeah.
my
Whenever
own
I,
ballot.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, you go, Chris.
yeah. I was just like, whenever I see people get mad about other people's film opinions, I'm like, why the fuck do you care? And also like, yeah, genuinely, like, why should you care what other people like? I feel like people's relationship with film is very personal. Like everybody's gonna have their own thing. So
That's true.
I don't know. It's just like, does it like this is what like the Sight and Sound list? Is it compiled of a bunch of opinions or is it one person's opinion?
It's like 1,800 people.
And they all put in 10 movies, and how do they arrange it?
I think it's the most picks. So like John Dielman has the most votes. It's like a preferential ballot.
Oh,
So like
okay.
if they had like we had like 30 people have Jean Dielman, that's the most popular of the 1,800. I don't think it was like actually 30,
Yeah.
but it was a high number, And then because if you actually look at the list online, on their website, it's like, oh, like there's like films that are tied because they probably had the same amount of votes.
Oh, okay.
So it's a democracy thing.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Brandon and I both made our own, and Chris will make his soon. Our own like little ballots if we are like members of this little club. But we're not. Maybe one day Stacked will have the prestige that we'll get to vote in this. We'll see. But it's hard. Like, how do you encapsulate like 10 greatest movies? Like, I tried not to put my own personal favoritism in that, but that was hard. I wanted to encapsulate like all the years of cinema, so I tried to have like no one film from the same decade. I think I only had 2 films that were from the same decade. And I just had to pick out ones that I thought were.
Did he crash?
He crashed.
Oh, that sucks.
All right, it's the Brandon and Chris show.
So actually, fuck Ethan. We're doing the show ourselves today. He's probably gonna text us in like 5 seconds saying, "Wow, my Wi-Fi sucks." See, this is I feel bad for him. This is the worst part about him moving is he doesn't have good Wi-Fi anymore. He doesn't have to piggyback off my good Wi-Fi. I mean, our good Wi-Fi.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Ethan, coming at you live from my new editing bay here in Hollywood, California, in my apartment. And I just want to clear up some confusion here with what Brandon just said. Hate to pause the podcast, but I've never once piggybacked off any Wi-Fi. We split the bill 50-50 when I lived with him. In fact, the account was under my name when I lived with him, if I remember correctly. And, he was the one who sent me the money. And I paid the bills, but so I don't know what the fuck he's talking about here. Yeah, my Wi-Fi does suck now, but whatever. C'est la vie. Anyways, shut the fuck up, Brandon. Let's get back to the show.
Okay. It's okay. I guess while we're waiting for him, I'll talk a little bit about my thought process with this sight and sound list, which I just assembled. It's just like. It's so hard because like is the intention of this list meant to like exemplify all eras of film, or is this just meant to be like what I believe to be the 10 best movies? My opinion.
I think everybody takes it differently, because I was looking at lists out there and like there were people who would just list like 10 best American movies, like I think it was Ty West. He's got the most criticism because he listed like
I saw his list as well.
Yeah, it was like 70s movies only.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I saw that.
Fuck
but
me.
Like I saw that and I was like, oh, like that's your classic film bro look. But at the same time, it's like, hey, that's his style, and that's cool. Everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah. Sorry,
you just continued on after I got shot. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna like put a gunshot when I cut out.
There was a pause there for like 5 seconds, so that'll be funny because I go, "Oh, he's out" or something. I said that.
Okay, well I'm back, and I didn't say anything important. Let's talk about Oscar bait movies. Oscar bait movies. So this is a interesting subject. Brandon, you were the one who pitched this. What do you have to say about Oscar?
What do you have to say for yourself?
What do you have to say for yourself? Why are you making us do this? What's wrong with you?
Okay, so usually the first week of December, there's actually like a big gap between like the Thanksgiving holiday weekend and the Oscar movies because Oscar voting starts and the nomination period basically ends at the end of December. So all the studios want to rush their movies out then because they'll have the most eyes on them then. People are going to be out of school, basically out of work, and then they can vote and watch all those movies and they'll be fresh in their minds, so they'll get all the Oscar nominations, which means there's going to be a lot of bad faith, I think, by studios just to get movies in there that fit a certain criteria. So this term originated probably in like the 50s or 60s, and it has to do with mostly like costume drama, period films, war pieces, films that will get like people crying, tearjerkers, and movies about movies are big Oscar bait movies. But that doesn't mean they're always bad. It just means they're specifically tailored to be Oscar movies. So I'm trying to think. Like, I don't want to use any examples just in case we talk about them. But in terms of like the general consensus on what Oscar bait is, that is why we're talking about it. Actually, so there are two films that none of us have seen that are coming out this week that are Oscar bait. And they might be good, they might not be. And that's The Whale by Darren Aronofsky and Empire of Light by Sam Mendes.
Yeah. Yeah, both very Oscar baity, those
Mhm.
movies. I think one thing that really sticks with me when I started thinking about how I'm gonna compose my stack is that like for me in my albeit limited like experience with the Oscars, like I realized pretty quickly once I started assembling my short list that almost all of my picks were contemporary European and American films. And that's frankly just because all of my experience with the Oscars has been pretty much in the last 10 years. And obviously, the Oscars tend to favor non-foreign films because, frankly, it's just not an international film festival. So growing up, I never really cared for the Oscars, and I never made the effort to go to backtrack and like look back in the way like Brandon has. You brave soul! I don't know how you are able to do all that. That's
I don't know
crazy
either.
to me. Dude, by the way, just so you know, I hope she doesn't mind if I out you for this. But Angelica says like your movie the movies that she sees on your letterbox on the feed is like she's always like, what the fuck is this guy watching like the 1950s like movie?
Hey, don't worry, Angelica.
Like,
Same
hey.
here. Same here.
Why am I being criticized for doing something
No,
that
it's not a
everybody
criticism at all.
everybody
it's
is
just
like,
like a
Because it's
Everybody
cringe. No.
everybody's like, oh, I only watch contemporary film. I can't watch anything from before 1970. I'm like, well, you know, that was still film. Not always good.
Not true.
But yeah, so like for me, like a lot of my picks are very contemporary leaning at least. Yeah, I like so you know for me, I feel like this is actually going to be kind of educational for me because I think I'm gonna hear about stuff that I never would hear otherwise. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what happens. Ethan, did you go about this in any special way?
Yeah, I tried to pick up on specific things that I see people talk about the most when they call a film an Oscar bait film. So I have one movie that's like an Oscar bait in terms of just one actor's performance, you know? Where you're like, "Oh, this is, you know, they put their heart, they put everything into this. It's their year to win, you know?" And you go to this movie to see that performance, you know? That's usually Oscar bait, you know?
Like Glenn Close and The Wife.
Sure. You just spoiled my pick, but sure. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't seen that. And then I have the drama where like the actors are just, they're allowed to just go crazy, you know? It's like the yelling movie. There's always like the yelling movie where actors get to like just
Go nuts
and yell
just let it out.
like just let out all their emotion, and that for some reason tracks like being an Oscar worthy performance. I okay, I gotta say I like and love all the movies I picked. I like Oscar bait movies, you know? It was, I was going through all my Oscar nominations and I'm like, man, I kind of like the Oscar bait movies. So
You fall for it every time.
hey, I fall
Every
for every time. So I like all these movies that were picked. And then the last one is just like, I think it's the ultimate Oscar bait movie, which I like, where it's the ensemble cast, high talent, period piece, timely theme, you know, timely narrative, and just all those brewed together. I'm just like, critically acclaimed director, like all that came together as like the ultimate Oscar bait movie, which I still really like, but I can tell it was Oscar bait, you know. So those were like the three criteria I had in mind. But yeah, those are my picks. Not my picks, my criteria. I'm skipping it. I'm an hour ahead of everybody else. Let's get to the fucking show. I'm tired of talking.
Let's do this.
Once a week, we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways, construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we'll mix and match our 9 films, make the ultimate decision what quintessential 3-film stack we're checking out this hypothetical video store. Chris, you are up first with your first Oscar bait movie.
All right. So my first Oscar bait film is a historical drama that was made in the year 2015. I don't know if either of you have actually seen this movie. It's directed by none other than the Catman himself, Tom Hooper. Picking The Danish Girl.
I have not seen it.
What?
Have you not seen it?
Wasn't it nominated for Best Picture?
It was
I don't
not.
think so.
It was not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The Danish Girl. So The Danish Girl tells a story of what's her name? Gerda Wegener. I'm probably mispronouncing that. So sorry. It tells a story of Gerda and her husband Einar, who go through this big emotional journey when Einar one day discovers that that she would like to be to identify as a woman, which considering that this takes place in, I honestly forget when this is British, I think. No, Danish. What the fuck is wrong with me? Jesus Christ.
The Danish Girl.
The English girl. The English patient.
The English patient.
Okay, so Jesus, what is wrong with me today?
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, so it stars Eddie Redmayne and Alicia Vikander as the couple who are going through this journey. And so this is very much Eddie Redmayne's film. This released very closely, I think just 1 year separated from Theory of Everything, which was also a big year for Eddie Redmayne, before he went down the rabbit hole with Fantastic Beasts. This movie has fluctuated very much for me as the years have gone on, because I remember when I first saw it as a 16-year-old at the time. You know, this was a topic that was not something that I was all that familiar with. I had grown up in a community where either this was something that nobody ever talked about, or I just wasn't exposed to people who identified as this or were this. And so, at the time, this was one of those movies that was very educational for me, because it gave me insight into kind of the inner workings of this, of that identity. However, as time has gone on and my understanding of that community has grown, and I've been exposed to more people and I've heard more about what that experience is like. The Danish Girl has kind of grown into a movie that is not only kind of oversimplifies the transition, but kind of milks the trauma out of it. Granted, it is an Oscar film. It's going to be dramatic. They're going to take liberties with the story, but they lean a little bit too far into melodrama that the tragedy, this film kind of plays itself like a tragedy, which because of the nature of the relationship between the two main characters, it kind of is. But at the same time, it's it's conducted as kind of, it's not, it's just approached with a very old-fashioned kind of sensibility that doesn't gel very well with the way in which I feel that a predominant amount of the trans community would like to be represented. Obviously, all three of us are cisgendered men, so this is not something that we can speak on with absolute accuracy. But yeah, that was just something I want to throw out there. There's also this fantastic review that I read on Letterboxd. It's the most liked review on the Letterboxd page. It's very long, but it is very informative, and it gave me a great bit of insight into how this movie's meaning has transitioned over time. So if you really want to, and it is written by a trans person, so if you want insight on that end, I'd highly recommend checking that out, or just looking elsewhere. But yeah, Danish Girl, it's one of those movies that at the time it really worked for me, and really brought some positivity into my life, because I learned it's a great introductory, I guess, in a way, for especially for me being a young impressionable 16-year-old when I first saw it. But now it's it's aged not completely awfully, but it just doesn't bear that same it doesn't bear the right sensibility and sensitivity to the topic as we would like nowadays. But Brandon, you haven't seen this movie, but Ethan, have you?
I have not seen this movie.
Oh wow, okay.
And I kind of don't want to. I don't know.
I get that.
I
That's
feel
fair.
like
I feel like there's better places to go.
there's
for this
better
topic.
places to go for this topic, and it's like, but you're right, Chris. When I first heard about this movie, like, let's see, 2016. I was in
No, yeah, we were
Junior-
16, so this movie came out in 2015.
Oh, we were 16. Okay, so it was like, yeah, my sophomore year of high school, I believe.
Mhm.
I didn't know much about this stuff, even
Yeah.
though I had a lot of friends in high school that later went on to, transition. At the time, none of us really knew about this stuff when we were in high school, and it was just like, I remember seeing Eddie Redmayne's performance. I'm like, oh yeah, that is impressive, But now when you're thinking, it's like, it's very,
It's like there's like a discomfort.
it's
with
it's
it, you know what I
very
mean?
discomforting to have, a cis man play a transgender woman, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like, it's kind of like blackface, where it's like, that's not you, and you're taking away this role. It's like you're taking this role away from someone who's actually, like, experienced this, and it's not
Mhm.
impressive that you're able to do this, and it's more like it's turning, like, a lot of people's real life experiences that is very traumatizing for them because of the way others react to it, as something that's
Mhm.
like entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a la Nope commentary right there.
Exactly.
But no, yeah, exactly. Like it is like, and it's one of those things where it's like, like, do I really blame a specific person for this? Like, I don't really blame Eddie Redmayne for this. The guy was getting his bag, and like to his credit, like, I do think he did a solid job, like, just conveying the story and like being articulate and dramatic
Yeah.
as the character. But like, just as far as like it, I guess I don't really blame anyone. I just kind of blame like the fact that this production is a thing. You know, I'm not like angry at Eddie Redmayne or Hooper or whoever. I guess I'm mad at who greenlit this, I guess.
It's more so, and Eddie Redmayne's been very, just what I'm seeing with all the J.K. Rowling stuff, he's been very,
Mhm.
I don't know. He's been supportive of, trans fans of Harry Potter, unlike, he's not being a turf like, J.K. Rowling, but like,
Oh,
but at the
okay.
same time,
That's good.
he's still in the movies, which is awkward. Well, I guess not anymore, because they stopped the franchise.
They're
But
done.
his stance just is a little muddled to me. I don't know, and
Yeah.
and then having this too, that he's played this character, at the same time, I don't care. I don't.
It's it's whatever.
And
But it's just,
the
yeah.
bottom line is that it's like, it's not the right thing to do. Like,
Mhm.
I don't care about the dude's personal politics, because like I don't fucking give a shit about this guy.
She's just,
Like,
yeah, it's a person.
like
yeah.
the only movies that I've seen him in was the first Fantastic Beasts movie, and I thought he was awful in that. So
He's in Les Mis.
like,
You've
I haven't
Les
seen
Mis.
Les Mis, and I bet he's awful in that too. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Making it up.
I mean, you would hate Les Mis.
I probably would. But I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like transgender minstrelsy. I'm gonna coin that right there. It's
Mary
not.
Sue.
It's not Mary Sue. That's
I
completely
know.
different.
I'm just saying you're I'm just saying you're
Oh,
coining
yeah.
a new term that's. Gonna be on
Coining it
Twitter.
like Mary Sue.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's different. I don't know. I don't want to say it's like, because people may find like Mrs. Doubtfire and like Some Like It Hot offensive, but that's like, that's not a guy playing a transgender woman. That's a guy playing a guy
who's
dressing
dressed
up as a woman, who's dressing up as a woman for something
to
else.
hide from. Like,
So-
yeah, it's like,
so
like that's a
Ethan-
different.
I have
Yeah.
a question then. Then.
Yeah, are you coming to, you're coming to grill me? See if Ethan gets hashtag canceled. Let's see if we do this.
No. I'm just curious on what you think about the hit Marlon Wayans film White Chicks. Then.
Oh, White Chicks. You know that movie. Let's talk about Little Man. Actually, is it right? Is it right for one of the Wayans brothers to play that little of a man? They could have hired a little man.
They could have hired Warwick Davis. I don't.
But yeah, just put him in blackface
to play the other Wayans brothers' brother.
Nobody said he had to be black.
Yeah, that's true. Brandon,
he could have been adopted. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Danish Girl?
I mean, I just kind of passed over this movie because to me it seems really obvious what it was, you know?
Yeah, same here. Like, I don't need to know what the fucking story is, you know?
It was a vehicle for Eddie Redmayne and Alicia Vikander to get Oscars.
Which is why it's great Oscar bait.
So. Which you did.
Which only Vikander did, so...
Wasn't he nominated? No, he was nominated.
Yeah, he was nominated, but no,
he won for Theory of Everything, didn't he?
I don't know if he even did.
He won. He won one. I know he won.
He won for Theory of Everything.
Then he didn't win, and so they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna get him on that back to back because that you know how it's like every other year it'll be like an actor or director having their movie up." I think that was the situation, and they thought it was perfect because it's like, I think they were being progressive, but in trying to be progressive, they came off as being a little backwards.
Yeah.
So
I can confirm he did not win for Danish Girl. He won for Theory of Everything.
But didn't Glenn Close play a dude in 2011's Albert Nobbs? I'm pretty sure she did.
I didn't see that movie.
So that probably also applies. But never mind. Let's move on.
Yeah, no, like like Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry. That's also very problematic because that's a trans man story. Anyways. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, my first one is like I said, it's like the it's sort of like the legacy actor in their shining role finally getting the acclaim they deserve. You know what I mean? And I'm picking this movie caused a lot of controversy last year at the Oscars. Because I don't know if you guys have heard this.
Oh.
A little something happened at the Oscars last year. This guy, William Smith, he
I've never heard of this man before.
You know, he slapped Chris Rock on stage live at the Oscars.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then later he won the award for his film King Richard, which I'm picking. I'm picking King Richard is mine. This was one of my favorite movies last year. But
it's a good movie.
It's a great movie. I love this movie.
Has the fart sound effect too.
It has the fart sound effect. Play it, Ethan.
The legendary fart sound effect.
Okay, gotta add that to my notes. It's a good movie. Why am I saying? I'm so stupid. I'm writing in my notes while I was talking. I said instead of play fart sound effect, I just said play stomach. I wrote play stomach. I'm like, where did stomach come from?
Are you hungry?
I am actually very hungry. I haven't had dinner. So I'm gonna make a quesadilla after stacked or something. I am. Oh, my stomach. I'm so hungry. You know what? Play the fart sound effect again, just for that. Okay, thank you. Now I'm gonna say play fart sound effect twice. Okay. It is very much the sports formula movie, feel good movie. It's a biopic. You pretty much know where it's going because you know Serena and Venus Williams. So the only real feature of this movie is to see, Will Smith become Richard Williams, and I do think he wholeheartedly deserved the award that year, but I don't know why it was nominated for Best Picture besides that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a great movie, but I'm just like, I don't know if it was. I mean, I feel like there could have been other movies nominated for Best Picture. It was one of my favorites of the year. I'm just saying it was very, I don't know. I don't think it was only nominated for that in Best Picture, actor and Best Picture, right?
No, there was more.
Like directing?
Yeah, no, not directing. Screenplay. It got best supporting actress. It got
Best supporting actress. That's true.
might have gotten best sound too.
I can check this.
Yeah,
When the tennis balls hits
Okay.
the court.
maybe. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
racket.
Best actor, best picture, best supporting actress, best original screenplay, and best film editing.
Best
the only
film editing.
win was Will Smith.
Yeah. And that that was that was what the movie wrote on was Will Smith, And I love the movie. But I feel like that's just, everyone went into that movie knowing Will Smith was going to win the Oscar before they even saw it, and they left the movie knowing that he was going to win the Oscar. And that's why I picked it as Oscar bait, because it's also, biopic. They love the biopics. They love the feel good movies. They love the rags to riches story, and they love it when we honor an actor who has been working in the industry a while, which is Will Smith was nominated for Pursuit of Happiness. No, he was nominated for Ali, right?
Yeah, but he lost.
But he lost, and he hasn't really gotten his attention since this. So this was the year for them to celebrate Will Smith as an actor,
Lifetime Achievement Award before they die, sort of thing.
It's exactly, yeah. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award before they die.
Because they can only hand out 3 of those a year.
And then it all went down the drain because, well, you know what he did. Or if you don't,
he gave a great performance.
Let's just say, like Richard Williams, Will Smith protects his family,
I'm cringing actively.
And the devil comes at you before your highest moments.
God,
I'll never forget those words when he said that. The devil comes for you at your highest before your highest moments. Yeah. So I'm picking King Richard. I love tennis. I love Will Smith in this movie. I think it might be my favorite performance of him, but it's still Oscar bait, and I fell for the bait, and I like the bait. So. It was the bait. It was the really big, nice piece of cheese from SpongeBob that Patrick puts in his mouth. It was that kind of Oscar bait. Because I'm like, oh, you know what? I'd probably do the same thing. That's looking pretty good right now. But yeah, what do you guys think, King Richard?
Great movie.
Good movie.
All right. Let's go on. Brandon, we saw this together, and we couldn't stop laughing after the fart sound effect.
It's just like with King Richard. It is total Oscar bait. I think it impressed me because I went in with kind of low expectations knowing what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love the editing of the movie. I think it deserves an editing nom. Here's the thing. When we're classifying films that should get nominated for Best Picture, I think it's okay to have a variety. I think that's where the Academy sort of misses out a lot because they'll always stray for the biopics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh no. But but I don't think it's not necessarily undeserving just because it's a biopic, because I know how you mentioned Best Picture, and even though you love the movie, and I'm I think you could have family dramas that are nominated, and I think it is a fairly compelling story, sports drama and family drama at the same time. I think Anjanou Ellis was great in it as well, but I think the slap's just going to overshadow it for the rest of time. So.
Yeah.
Which sad, really, yeah, he really blew it. Yeah, King Richard is a lot of fun. I remember I saw this, I think just maybe a day or two after you guys went. I went to the Universal AMC, and I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. The fart, like you guys said, sent me. I just.
I love that the only two things we're taking away from this movie is the slap and the fart. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, it is your standard sports movie, but yeah, admittedly, Will Smith does deliver a pretty amazing performance here. Yeah, it's good. I do enjoy this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. But also very dramatic and emotional story too, about fatherhood and protecting one's young, and also just raising children and navigating the trials of parenting. Yeah, good movie.
I think it's a great movie. I just couldn't help but think the entire time Will Smith made this movie for an Oscar. You know what I mean? Like that was number one reason why he made this movie. He's like, this is what's gonna get me the Oscar, and that's Oscar bait, in my opinion. So,
Okay.
yeah, okay, Brandon, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I separated mine. I didn't really go into it, but I separated mine into 3 categories of Oscar bait. I have the period drama war costume, and I have the overly sentimental tearjerker, and I have my first pick, which I'm choosing, is under gimmick movie.
Or stunt?
No, it's a gimmick. I'm choosing the artist from 2011.
Oh yeah.
So The Artist is a modern film made to look like a silent feature, like a screwball silent feature from the 1920s, like a Chaplin, a slapstick gag. And it plays on the over sentimentality of that era of filmmaking by also really replicating film form. And this is the second ever film to win Best Picture that was a silent film, because by the time that the Oscars were around, there wasn't really many silent films to begin with that were getting nominated. I think there's only maybe like 5 to 10 in the 580 nominees that have ever been nominated that are for silent film. And so that's kind of, I think, shows bias in film form, because there were silent films in the late 20s. It just wasn't the hot new thing. But the fact that they were making a movie about making movies, that it was black and white, that it had a really cute dog, and that it played with an established gimmick of silence and black and white and 4:3 aspect ratio really plays into how much of an Oscar bait movie it is. Now, I really like this movie, and I find it extremely charming. It has like a little darkness to it, which I think a lot of 1920s films do have, because they were like pre-Hays Code, or like around that time, pre-production code. And so they were allowed to get away with certain things, and there's a certain charm to that. But there's no overlooking the fact that people overlook this movie because of what it is. Because if you look at the early 2010s, especially when the Academy went to 10 nominees, or the slot nominees from anywhere from 5 to 8 or 9, like, it's dominated by this sort of movie. And I think it's like quintessential just because it is like kind of what they strive to do now.
Yeah, I think this is a great movie. I think you're right, that it is Oscar bait, because, you know, Hollywood loves their love letters, you know, and this was just one big love letter to the silent era. I feel like it went through a checklist of all the conventions of silent era cinema, and was just going through them throughout the movie. But it also told a really compelling story about, you know, being chewed up in the business, you know, and like the rise and fall of an artist, you know. I think, you know, for being a silent film, my favorite part of it was actually like the score and the soundtrack, you know. I thought the music was great in this movie. And, you know, I thought it was cool that like they didn't really pick like big names for this, you know?
Other than John Goodman.
Other than John
Small
Goodman.
Row.
Yeah. He was the most famous person in this movie. Like, what else did these main people do, you know?
Well, the lead actor
Jean Dujardin. Are they more like French film actors?
I know he is, because he was in like a James Bond spoof series in France.
Yeah.
Called OSS. You should actually check out I've checked out the first one. A very funny movie.
OSS.
Yeah. And then
That's the name of the Spy Kids organization.
Uh-oh. We got a little plagiarism on our hands. And then after he did Wolf of Wall Street, he's the Swiss or French banker.
Yeah, he's
Oh yeah, he is.
Swiss
He's
fuck.
a Swiss banker.
Yeah.
That's right.
But like before, like I think he was just a French film star that they chose who was hot at the time, because it was like late 2000s when he did those spy parodies.
Yeah. 2006, 2009. And then 2021. There was another one.
Oh. I didn't know.
It's 3.
Look at him go.
What do you think, Chris? You seen The Artist?
No, actually, when you said The Artist, I was like, oh, I've always wanted to see this movie. I love Adrian Brody, but I remember I was thinking about The Pianist,
Which I haven't
have
seen.
not seen.
I haven't seen.
I've
I've
seen
heard
that
it's
one.
good.
That's a good one.
It's a Polanski movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, awkward, but yeah. Anyway, The Artist. I have one memory about this movie. I remember my mom driving me to school in 2011 when this movie came out, and my mom was talking to me about the Oscars, and I asked her like, "Oh, like what movies are coming out and then or are up for it?" And then she mentioned like, "Oh, there's this like black and white movie called The Artist, and it's like it's meant to be like one of those old fashioned like movies from like the 20s and 30s." And I was like, I don't know why, but I remember that sticking with me. And the poster of this movie sticking with me because of that random memory that just stuck with me for some reason. But beyond that, I didn't know anything about this movie until you guys opened your mouths. I'm sure it's fun. It sounds good. But it's just like, yeah, I just never seen it. But it sounds good.
It's good. Gotta check it out. All right, we're taking this a bit of a pace. We're at 40 minutes in, so let's
Should we speed it? Let's wrap it up.
let's ramp it up. Chris, what's your next pick?
All right, my next film is a movie that I have actually really come to love over the years. Brandon's a really big fan of this movie. I think, Ethan, you've seen it too. But I know Brandon's a big fan of this movie, and I've grown to quite like it too. It's 2015, again, just like a Danish Girl, Tom McCarthy movie.
Oh yeah.
I'm picking Spotlight.
Oh
Very
yeah,
good.
Spotlight's a good movie. That's a great movie.
Very good movie. Okay, so much like my relationship with The Danish Girl, this was a movie that I saw when I was an impressionable 16-year-old, and my God, did this movie affect me? Like I didn't know anything about the shit going on with the Catholic Church at the time. At the time I was just like, oh, religion, okay, not for me, but cool. But then this made me go like, oh shit, this shit is fucked up, and like the performances are so on point. I love especially Mark Ruffalo's dynamic with Michael Keaton throughout this movie is so well done. That that scene I'm talking about, the one where it's like, it's time, Robbie.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
You know?
His Oscar clip speech.
Yeah, that clip.
Even though he didn't win.
Yeah, sad. But yeah, this movie is really good. I remember like just like seeing this and like being just so enraptured by like uncovering this like story, and like because again, growing up, never knew this about the Catholic Church, and then to not only like hear it in a movie, but then to afterwards find out, oh shit, this is real, and this happens more than just the case about this movie. There's like, this happens a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, this is like when we're talking about like the Oscar bait, thing, like this is like your docudrama, you know what I mean? Like where they take a real thing, a real subject, and dramatize it and turn it into a film. You'll see that every year. There's always a film like that, and that's a normal thing. But this movie handles it so well. The drama is so well balanced with like the intensity of the news outlet. Is that the word I'm trying to? The newspaper, news outlet.
Yeah, both is fine.
But yeah, this movie really stuck with me. It left a big impression on me. The actors, I honestly think this movie should have won more awards than it did. It won Best Picture, so I guess it won the one that counted.
Are you saying the other awards don't count?
Well, this one that one counts the most. I'll just say that. But yeah, I think this is a really strong movie. I think it's due for a rewatch for me. Yeah, all around, just thumbs up for me with this movie. Brandon, anything you want to say about this movie?
Oh yeah, I love this movie. Great journalism movie. I think it's not dry. Like I talked to Chris, I just saw She Said, and I think that movie is incredibly dry and hard to watch. Not because of the subject matter. I think that's very important and great to tackle. But in terms of its like how it handles journalism, it feels so like going through the motions, like bland.
To me, it felt like it wanted to be Spotlight so bad.
You saw it.
I didn't see it. I just, from the trailers, I'm like, that movie wants to be Spotlight so bad because it's it's a timely subject matter, and it's like a investigative journalism movie,
And it's about the movie industry, partially, because it's mostly about Harvey Weinstein. And I think Spotlight it doesn't rely on that. It just wants to tell a good story in the vein of something like All the President's Men. And I really loved it. And I related to it a lot because I grew up Catholic. So I think not that that was my life or anything, but I think
the little weekend camp, I don't know.
But yeah, it's just like journalism at its finest on cinema. I think there's no better investigative journalism movie than this.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't know why it didn't click with me. I think its best scenes are when they're going out in the field, you know. I think it might be a case of substance over style for me personally, where it's like you're just being, you know, you're just being fed all this information, and it's all displayed through dialogue and interaction and not really anything else, which is why I can't say I love the movie, but I still think it's good. And yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with like you know, it was also a timely subject matter because this came out around, you know, Me Too, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't made because of it.
I know it wasn't, but like it just synced up so well, you know.
Yeah,
that they made something like that during the time to get the awards, which is actually very similar to. Maybe I'll talk about it for my next film. But yeah, it's very similar to my next movie. It's actually incredibly similar to my next movie. Yeah, good pick.
Why not?
Let's just go into it. I also picked a journalism movie, a timely journalism movie, that came out in 2017. I'm picking The Post. I think that was like my first pick when we did when I thought of Oscar bait. I was like,
Spielberg.
That is a movie Spielberg made, right? He put that shit together right after Trump was elected, you know.
Oh yeah, they fast tracked it. I remember. They
fast tracked it. Yeah, because it came out. It wasn't supposed to come out the same year as Ready Player One, but he put them out in the same year. Remember?
Within the same 365 as he's known for doing.
Yeah. And that's just, you know, that's a movie very much about, you know, the reporters, you know, discovering the truth and, you know, bringing the real honest news against, you know, all odds, and whether, you know, their government likes it or not, you know. And, you know, Spielberg brought on the ensemble cast that he needed, you know, with Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Bob Odenkirk's in it too, right? Who else is in The Post? There was a lot of other people.
Alison Brie was in it.
Tracy Letts, Bradley Whitford.
Sarah Paulson was in it, yeah. Oh yeah,
Jesse
Whitford.
Plemons, David Cross.
Yeah. David Cross and Bob Odenkirk were in it. I wonder if Spielberg's a Mr. Show fan. I don't know. But to me, I was just like, oh man, you know, he just made this movie so he can get Oscars because Trump was elected. You know, everyone had a Trump speech this show, you know. At this Oscars, they had a speech about Trump, and they did the show before, rightfully so, I should say. I'm not like, oh, the Hollywood libtards, you know. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying rightfully so. We need to speak out about this, and Spielberg, you know, he needed to speak out, and it got, you know, he knew he was gonna get some Oscars for it, you know, and I'm not blaming the dude. That's a smart move, you know.
It's a good movie too,
and it's a great movie. It's I think it's one of his most underrated movies. I think it's like in his upper top 15, I would say, of Spielberg's filmography.
I think it's underrated because it's like Oscar bait and people know it is, so they often forget about it. I think when you look at Spielberg's most underrated features, they're always Oscar bait, you know. You look at AI or Munich or what's another one that came out? Warhorse. All of those are underrated, or in the case of Warhorse, overrated. And because of that, they're forgettable, and because of how they were targeted towards audiences. And The Post is no different because, like, it's a very compelling movie. It leads straight into All the President's Men, you know, So if you want to do like a companion piece of those two films, like it's perfect. Do I love it? No, I do think it is pretty by the numbers. I don't think it's as compelling as Spotlight is as they peel back the layers, but it's definitely a very good movie. Streep is giving her all. I think Hanks is doing pretty good in it, but this is the start of him doing his funny voices, though. I gotta say, it started with The Post. Chris, do you have anything to say?
I have not seen The Post. Yeah, I remember when this movie came out. This was what freshman year for us? First semester, was it?
Because
2017,
I
right?
think it was the same year as The Shape of Water winning. I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay. Yeah,
So, yeah.
I don't remember why. I remember did you go with Joey?
To see The Post?
Yeah.
No, I think I saw it on my own. Because it came out around the holiday season when I was working at Harkins.
Oh, I was probably out of town.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've only ever heard good things about this movie. I think it's like, I don't know, it sounds good, and like, journalism films are always pretty intriguing. Like, even like some of the ones that maybe a little like less interesting, or like maybe relatively less acclaimed, like for example, let's say Bombshell.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I was thinking he was
what I
gonna
mean?
pick that.
Like it's simply it's such a simply interesting subject matter, because journalism is interesting, especially like nowadays, considering like all the how should I say contentious the topic is. But yeah, like I think I'm sure this is good. Spielberg always does deliver. I've never really been all that disappointed by a Spielberg movie. But yeah, so
All right.
I buy it.
All
I
right.
think it's good.
Well,
You want to go into your third?
Yeah,
Like your second.
yeah, my second pick. I'm gonna pick my overly sentimental tearjerker
Okay.
movie. Next, I'm gonna pick this movie called On Golden Pond. Have you ever heard of it?
No, what's On Golden Pond about?
All right, so it's like this 80s movie from the early 80s, 1981. And it stars Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda, Katharine Hepburn, and Dabney Coleman. And it's essentially about this little kid who goes to visit his grandparents or who are basically dumped at his grandparents by Jane Fonda and Dabney Coleman's character. And he has a summer with them. But he starts out hating his grandparents because, like, they're like stricter and like they're like old school, so they're not really cool, And it's silly because it's like, this is a movie that was nominated for Best Picture and like won a Best Actress award, and like was at least nominated for Best Actress and Best Actor. And the only reason I think this movie was recognized, and I think it's a good movie. Do I think it's a great movie? No, but it is playing to the audience. It's a audience pleaser, is because it starred Henry Fonda and his daughter playing essentially his daughter in the film. And
Right.
and also it was Henry Fonda's last film before he passed away, because everybody knew he was sick. And it also starred Katharine Hepburn, who was like a titan of the time. If you look at her roles from the 1940s to the 1980s, that's where she ate. She was a multi-year Oscar nominee. And so it was all,
in a way, it's kind of like Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep for Post,
right? And it has layers, because it's a vehicle for these actors of old to get their final roles, like their final massive roles together, and also a chance for him to sort of pass the baton to his daughter, while also playing upon the over sentimentality that Oscar films sometimes do, as being like family features. And it's a very good movie. I enjoy it. It's just like, it's very obviously built to be loved by the Academy.
Yeah, no, yeah. But that's what we're here for. We're talking about Oscar baits today. And like, I do find it interesting that, like, because we were talking about this earlier about how, like, when you think of Oscar bait, when you just hear that term, you're immediately like, oh, these garbage movies that like are trying to be all ooh-hoo, but like, are just like really shallow.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, Oscar bait doesn't necessarily is not a judgment of quality. It's just a judgment of it's not even judgment. It's an observation of trends of a trait or something like that,
or like a type.
Yeah, like there's like a kind of movie that just like naturally the Academy tends to lean towards, because they have their sensibility, I guess. But yeah, I haven't seen this movie, but I I don't have much to say about that. I liked Henry Fonda in the few movies I've seen him in.
Look at this
And
guy.
yeah.
Look at this guy in this movie. Look at him. He's wearing a bucket hat. He's a fisher.
Oh wow.
Look at him.
Oh, look at him. Oh.
Well, should we address the elephant in the room?
Okay. Yeah. By the way, guys, Ethan clocked the fuck out. Even Brandon started introducing this topic like after Ethan already left. Ethan has not been here for like ever since maybe like since you guys know since the last word he said.
He got shot again.
Yeah.
He keeps getting shot. He shouldn't have moved.
Ugh.
Well,
so should we just chat or should we just keep going? Because I'm next.
I think you should present. I don't think Ethan's just gonna say, "Oh, those old fogies," and that's what he's gonna say for my movie. So go ahead with your next one.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna introduce my last film, which is a movie that I picked kind of similarly in the vein of Danish Girl, where it's like it's for the actor, and also it's like but also this movie's like, oh my god, like you can tell sound mixing was like going to be huge for this movie, and apparently editing was huge for this movie, even though I think it's one of the worst edited movies I've ever seen.
Whoa.
It's Bryan Singer's 2018 Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah, talk about this one.
Yeah Oh boy. Okay, so Brandon took me to see this movie actually back in 2018. Brandon is a huge Queen fan. I'm also a Queen fan, but not nearly as much as Brandon. Brandon's like big time Queen fan.
Top 5 bands of all time. Top 3, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, I might even agree with that. But so Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody tells a story of basically Freddie Mercury and his rise to stardom alongside the rest of Queen, and yeah, just basically his life story, basically. So yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody was a movie that I went into like really wanting to like because I like Queen's music. I like Rami Malek. So it had the makings of, something that would really be special. But the thing about this movie that just did not gel for me is like the characterization of Freddie, but also like, we've all heard about the editing of this movie, which bizarrely enough won the award for it. But like, for me, I'm like, my God, like this movie's impossible to follow. Like, yeah. There's been a lot of like I remember there was like a big controversy about like the director, because wasn't it original, like Bryan Singer was not the original director.
Yeah, no, he was the original director, and then
Dexter Fletcher came in.
Yeah, it was a mixture of creative differences. The studio didn't like the product that he put out, and also because of the allegations, like a mixture of those two things.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is just like, it's kind of, it's one of those movies where I did want to like it, but I remember coming out of it and being like, okay, that was good. But as time went on, I was like, this movie did not stick with me at all. The scenes just feel so like unweighted to me, and it's just like there's not like, it just feels like we're tracking through this person's life, but there's no drama going on really. Like we're revealing things about this person and learning about him, but like there's no through line that's guiding me through this story.
Mm-hmm.
Not that every movie needs that, but the movie doesn't commit to that kind of like aimlessness that like, that would be great that could be great, but it's just kind of nothing.
To
it's
me,
just like it feels like a bunch of strung together scenes haphazardly.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it feels like it's like a bunch of cliff notes. Like they're like, this is like the band's basic history, and we're just gonna show the most iconic moments, and we're gonna play everybody's favorite songs except for the car one because nobody's ever heard of that song before. And it's a fun movie. Like, I think the second half of the movie is very fun, but I think that's the part that Dexter Fletcher did. I think him recreating Live Aid was pretty cool, I guess. And everybody is like, oh, look how shot for shot it is. But there are issues with the story being told in the second half because it's not historically accurate. It's just like a hodgepodge of things. And like how Ethan has said, like, you can't go from watching Walk Hard to watching Bohemian Rhapsody and not pick up on like the silliness of music biopics, especially in the modern day. Like, the only one that really does something different is either Straight Outta Compton or maybe Rocket Man, just because it's magical. But even then, it still plays upon that formula,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Speaking of Ethan,
welcome
oh
back.
my god, he's
Back.
alive.
You missed my
Jesus
second
fucking Christ.
pick, which
What was your second pick?
On Golden Pond.
All right, haven't seen the movie. I have no idea what that is.
It's about old fogies.
Of course, okay. Fuck them fogies. And fuck,
I told you.
And fuck,
I told
Yeah,
you.
and fuck Spectrum
Brandon
Wi-Fi.
called it.
What?
Brandon called it. Brandon said, like, oh, don't worry, Chris. Just go on to your next pick because Ethan's just going to call them a bunch of fogies.
Yeah, a bunch of old fogies, bunch of old hicks. Fuck them. Fuck old people. There's probably old people running Spectrum. Fuck Spectrum. Why the fuck does it not work? All right. Okay, so yeah, fuck old fogies and fuck Bryan
Bohemian.
Singer and fuck the editor who made Bohemian Rhapsody and fuck most music biopics. This movie was just okay. I don't know. But yeah. I got nothing to say about it. Let's just move on. I'm
let's
fucking
move on.
upset because of my Wi-Fi. All right, my last movie is the movie where actors, it was clowned on a lot. Even though I think this is a great movie and unjustly clowned for, but I can still kind of see how it was Oscar bait. I'm picking Marriage Story for my last one.
Oh.
I like this movie.
Just because this movie's now become iconic for the scene where Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver just yell at each other. I wanted to pick a movie where just like, where it feels like actors just having a cathartic yellow, where they get that and, Oscar voters go, oh, yes, very good, because there's just a lot of scenes in the movie, while I still think it's good, it was a lot of Oscar reel scenes, but I still think this is a great movie. We talked about in divorce movies. I think one of us picked it, or I think none of us picked it because we all tried to avoid it, because it just felt obvious. What's up with Noah Baumbach in divorce movies? Man, dude,
Sounds like the guy has some trauma.
he has some trauma. I think Squid and the Whale is about his parents, and I think Marriage Story is about him. I don't know. Dude just can't catch a break. Maybe just don't try again, Noah. I don't know. Can't wait for White Noise though. Heard it's good.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Marriage Story?
Same.
It's a great movie.
It's great. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's like unjustly marketed just for the one scene and then Scarlett Johansson dancing like she's in a Cialis commercial.
Oh yeah.
Because
about
like
that.
Laura Dern's really good in it, and I think it does have a lot to say about human relationships. It just feels like a more adult Kramer versus Kramer, which came out in '79. I know we also talked about that in divorce movies. But yeah, like I think it is a vehicle. I think it's Oscar bait partially, not because of the subject matter, but because of the performances. I think it's very bold to do a divorce movie. I Kramer versus Kramer as like an Oscar pick was kind of inspired for the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And for the 2010s, like I don't think you really see very serious dramas with like not a lot of lightness like happen anymore. Because people they're not crowd pleasers. I don't think Marriage Story is a crowd pleaser.
Oh, and that's a crowd depressor.
Yeah.
That's a downer, not an upper.
Right.
Yeah, Marriage Story I think is also really great. I really enjoyed this. Well, maybe not enjoyed is not the right word, but like I think this movie's fantastic. It's a very emotional movie. I remember tearing up while watching it. They just like they play these characters very authentically, which I think is like the biggest strength of this movie. It feels very human, even beyond even the acting, like the visual style, the texture of the images. It feels very like authentic and tangible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if this movie was shot on film, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was
Looked
because
like it.
I honestly would guess it was, but who knows nowadays? They can probably replicate the look. But yeah, like I think this movie works really well. I feel very connected to both of the characters. I understand their struggles they're both going through, and when they do come to a head with one another, like I can feel the anger and resentment from both of them, and I understand why from both of them. So it feels very like it does such a good job of like dissecting the complexities of a relationship and just like going into like that kind of just what makes up a marriage and like what happens when things don't go the way that you would traditionally imagine when you think of a marriage. yeah, I think it's great. I also love using this movie as a visual reference. I think it is one of the better shot films of that year. But then again, that was a very competitive year, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I thought it was gorgeous, and I really like this movie.
Well, all right. That's my last
Should we
one.
wrap it up with Brandini?
Yeah.
We're on the last pick already. All right, so I'm surprised this film hasn't been talked about on Stacked at all. I'm not a big fan of this movie, but it is the absolute poster child for being Oscar bait. It won Best Picture. It didn't deserve it. It was up against 4 other nominees who are much more deserving, and I'm picking 1994's Forrest Gump.
Never mind. I was thinking about something else.
Yeah,
No,
me too.
I'm picking Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Oh, good old Forrest Gump.
I think this movie's overrated as hell.
Uh-oh.
But
I think it is too.
I think it's a costume and period drama, and I think people are afraid to say that it's overrated because it is like the all-American story. It's Americana. And it's like, it stars a character who is neurodivergent, which is I think a big thing. It's all over the course of a few decades. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's playing into like the Academy loving like films that take place over a long period of time, so you can show somebody grow into a character. You have an ensemble cast, and it's a feel good movie, a tear jerker at the same time. And I'm just like, but it's like it captured like the audience. And if you ask anybody who was like around when Forrest Gump came off, they love that movie. My dad loves this movie. My mom loves this movie. Like, all the people in the 90s are so nostalgic and sentimental for this, but I don't understand it. And I think we all can agree here about that. It's fine at best, but like, I'm just like, what? I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I can't say anything bad about this because
You rate it 5 stars.
No, I have some stock in bubblegum shrimp, and no, I'm just kidding.
I love Bubba Gump as well. That's great.
I just want to say I love bubblegum
Yeah,
shrimp.
even I like Bubba Gump, and I'm allergic to most of that menu.
No, I think this movie's. I think this movie's good. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see why people. I know 2 friends of the show gave this movie 5 stars. 2 friends of the show love this movie. Joey and Milo. I know it's one of Milo's like top 5 films of all time. Milo loves this movie.
Offensive.
It's offensive. You think it's offensive? Yeah. I just think I don't know. I think this movie's so quotable. I think it's great.
The best part of this movie is when Tom Hanks drops everything, becomes a runner, and then he gets those people to follow him, and then he's like, I think I'm done now. And then and then that's it. And then he just walks away. And that was the funniest shit. But the rest of it, I'm like, it's a war movie too. So it's like, oh, like, he's got to be a part of all these historical events because people are going to go soy face. It's like a pre-Marvel movie. They're going to soy face at like President Kennedy and and like the Vietnam War and stuff. They're going to be like, oh, I know that, That's lame.
Yeah. I have not seen this movie in quite some time. However, what I do remember from it is largely it's a movie that I largely look back on fondly. It doesn't quite hold the same amount of like weight that I feel like a lot of people have attributed it. But it is still a pleasant movie. I do enjoy and I do find it like a very like a movie that does have a lot of meaning to me in terms of its themes because it's the whole thing about like this guy has achieved so much in his life and gone through so many incredible life experiences, but the one thing that has eluded him is this thing, and like I find that to be really interesting, and I like how they play with that dynamic. But outside of that, like it's not a movie that I'm gonna look back on. It's not gonna make my sight and sound list. I'll just say that. But yeah. Also, I will say I do love the Letterboxd banner. Just Tom Hanks playing ping pong in China. That's just great.
That's another reason to. I just like it. Look at the movies it beat for Best Picture that year: 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction. Like, all of those movies are like
Loaded year.
loaded, and not all of them are Oscar bait either. Like Quiz Show maybe, but like in Shawshank maybe, but like only in concept, not in execution. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it really bothers me because it's like it's a fine movie, but like the way it's talked about by most people, it just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this movie's funny. You know, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. I always say that. You know, I drank so much root beer. No, I drank so much Dr. Pepper that day.
Well, he is a Dr. Pepper fan. Gotta respect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Best
Come on,
soda.
you gotta love that. Yeah, this is totally an Oscar bait movie. And I get the soy facing at historical moments. The first and last time I ever watched this movie was in my 8th grade history film class. My 8th grade or U.S. history film. Why am I saying film? My U.S. history class. We watched it as a film. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think so I had a bunch of Dole Whip at Disney. And I tried all the new colors and flavors. I think the food coloring in that did something to me. The chemicals in that Dole Whip. I don't know. Anyways, Forrest Gump. Yeah, it's like it's super feel good, super we love America, viewing it, you know, the 20th century, you know, the Great America Ride, you know.
That's why I'm like
Looking through the
surprised
eyes
you don't love it, you know, or
I don't love
hate or you don't hate it
because I think it's funny. I don't know.
maybe it's ironic, but also Zemeckis is not a great filmmaker other than his first few films.
Oh really?
I said
you don't think he's a great filmmaker outside his first few films?
Yeah, like Back to the Future.
I think Flight is his best movie.
Flight is pretty good though. That's like his only good like
That's
2010s
my favorite
movie.
Zemeckis movie.
It's pretty good, I suppose.
But yeah, I suppose.
Welcome to
Moses
Marwin.
suppose. Welcome to Marwin.
Oh,
Welcome to Marwin.
Evelyn wants me to watch Welcome to Marwin, and I'm scared.
Do it.
Because she you remind her of Steve Carell and Welcome to Marwin.
Probably not. I probably remind her of Moose from Step Up.
Moose from Step Up?
Moose from you look nothing like Moose from Step Up.
Okay, she did say
Brandon,
I look like Cameron.
Hit me with...
She looks like I
Yeah, you do look like Cameron.
Yeah.
For Ferris Bueller. She's like, you do look like him.
Did she
I'm
say
like,
you
"Thank
look like Ben Affleck?
No, but that old lady was wearing glasses.
She's wearing 2 Coke bottles for glasses when she called you Ben Affleck.
She said, "Oh, that Omar Sharif sure does run fast."
Oh man.
Nice guys reference.
Yeah. Forrest Gump.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, root
All
beer,
right.
Dr. Pepper ice cream, Forrest Gump. Not as offensive as Rain Man, I'll say. Let's talk
I
about
agree.
the offensive neurodivergent movies of the late 20th century. I think Rain Man's a lot more offensive than
I should have just chose those, to be honest. It's on the list.
Yeah. All right, yeah, let's run down
Extremely
these.
loud, incredibly close is also.
You just chose all the
All the offensive.
what is it? It's the
neurodivergent.
autism face movies, you know?
Oh my god.
Can we do that?
Ethan, make that list. I dare you.
Make the autism face movies. Yeah, I'll go through it with Caroline, and we'll determine which ones are the true autism cinema.
You gotta tell me which one's the most offensive.
Probably extremely loud, incredibly close.
You think that's more? I haven't seen that one. You think that's more offensive than Rain Man?
The kid, like, at first, no, but then it gets worse.
Yeah.
It gets so bad. All right, you'll just have to watch it.
Okay. You know, a friend of the show, Milo, he does a really good Rain Man impression. Maybe we should have him on to do that. He's gonna get.
That might not be a
He's
good
gonna
idea.
get so mad at
That
me
might not be a
that
good
I shout that. He does a great one, guys. Wait until you hear it.
And you
Should I message Milo right now and be like, I hear you do a good Rain Man.
No, you should just tell Ethan.
Can I do it?
Ethan, you have to talk the rest of the show like Chadwick Boseman.
No, wait, what? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, don't do it.
No,
Don't do
Milo
it.
will listen.
Can you-
Milo listens to all these episodes because he commented about the Ice Age stuff last episode, so he'll get. To
You
this
can-
moment.
You can
Okay.
bleep what I said. You can
No,
bleep
I don't
who
care.
I said.
You could. I'm
Oh.
gonna keep it in. I don't care. All right, let's go through our movies. Chris, you want to go off your stack?
Cool. All right, my stack was The Danish Girl, Spotlight, and Bohemian Rhapsody.
And mine are King Richard, The Post, and Marriage Story.
Mine are The Artist, On Golden Pond, and Forrest Gump.
Alrighty. Let me
Forrest Gump.
On Golden Pond. I typed it down as old fogey movie, but it's On Golden Pond. All right. I have a pitch.
Okay, go for it.
Go for it.
Okay. I think Danish Girl should be the performance one. Because that's very much like banking on something that was very baity and not okay. Then Forrest Gump as like period piece exploring through history, ensemble cast, and then The Post as like the movie that's like timely, and it's the Trump Oscar speech movie, and
I think
it has the director, the cast, the period piece. It's not period piece. The the historical setting.
Well, they're all period pieces in a sense.
They are.
Because
every movie's a period piece in a sense.
No.
If you think about it. Every movie's set in a time that is a period.
but
yeah,
but like
put that on all timer quotes. Every movie's set in a time.
I don't think so.
Name a movie that's not set in a time, Brandon.
Interstellar.
That is set in time. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
That's said multiple times. So it's multiple. It's multiple period pieces.
Actually,
think about it.
I'm thinking about film title poem. That's not set in a time because it's an experimental form of cinema.
Stellar's not set in a time.
Yeah, Stellar or any Stan Brakhage film.
Ha 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 ha! Liar, liar, kill you.
What? All right, kill him. I just pull a gunshot again.
This is a very violent episode, but I mean, Oscar. Like at the end of like some Oscar movies, people do get shot, like West Side Story.
And people get slapped, like Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah.
All
right.
Do you guys like that stack?
I do.
I'm down.
I think they're all period pieces, so it works.
Yeah.
I think we should do it in chronological order too.
So Forrest Gump first, then Danish Girl, then
what? What year did Danish Girl first? Yeah. What year did that take place?
Oh, you meant by when the movie takes place. I think by release chronological of like the release.
No. I was like, what?
So Danish Girl, but
Danish Girl's a 2010
The Post happens like in between Forrest Gump because he's at. Remember, look, there's Watergates right across the street. What's those?
No, that's where you pause it and then you put on The Post. Then you finish Forrest Gump. I
think Forrest Gump should be last. Because that's like the big one.
It ends with a feather. So wait, what's a starter? What's a good starter then?
Wait. I think Danish Girl's a good starter.
Chris, do you have any?
Sure, why not?
Sheesh, sure, why not? Chris is a cool cat tonight. Sure. Sheesh, sure, why not?
He's like, I like sure.
Well, I'm sipping on my Colt 45. Sure. All right.
What do we have here?
I don't know. What have we here? All right. Danish Girl, Post, Forrest Gump. We like it?
Yeah, sure.
Like it.
All right. Let's actually run down the films because did we forget to last week? Is that what you're telling me, Brandon? That we forgot to run down our final stacks?
No.
What did you say? We said you told us in the group chat to shout out our final stack from the last episode.
Not from the last episode. It's for an upcoming episode that was lost.
Oh. Well, spoilers. Way to go! You spoiled it, Brandon. You could have.
No, they don't know what it is.
You could have. They don't know what it is. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Anyways.
No, it's fine. No, that's just a little hint for them. The true stack fan.
The true stack heads know. The true stackies know. All right, let's go down these movies. Chris, you want to start off our list?
Yep. Our first film is Tom Hooper's 2015 historical drama, The Danish Girl, telling the story of if I'm not mistaken, the very first transition story. I don't know what's the right word for this.
What, like the story?
The very first like like surgical transitional process. It's like when it,
Transgender?
I don't know.
No, okay. So
No, they're not the first transgender
not the
person, but it's
first-
like the first
but
person
first
to
go
undergo
through-
the procedure.
Okay.
The procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
That's the right word.
Sure.
Anyway,
Go
you
for it.
guys know what I'm talking about. The Danish Girl by Tom Hooper.
Okay. And our second film is, well, David Lynch here. I feel like I've already done that. It is, quite frankly, a movie I found very offensive. These reporters, they were walking around and they looked up and they saw Nixon and he wasn't doing up to any good, and they made this movie about me, and I'm rather flattered, but it sucks. It's a bad movie by the hack Steven Spielberg. What happened to The Color Purple? What happened to movies like that? What happened to Jurassic Park? Now he makes all these other little movies like The Post. And what the hell was that Ready Player One movie? What the hell was going on there? I don't know what's going on, but it's The Post is our second movie. Brandon, say those magic words.
And our last film is Forrest Gump, an American quote-unquote masterpiece about the passage of time, about a man moving through time who finds purpose. Maybe a little offensive, but that makes it quintessential Oscar bait, and we love to see it, don't we, folks?
Quite frankly, we love to see the man play the little man who does the funny voice, and he's not, to a guy like me, he's not there all the time, Tom Hanks plays the little funny man who runs, and we love
What do you
it.
think? What do you think of Trump thinks of the Fablemans?
He probably saw the film and he's like, what happened to movies like Forrest Gump? It's all about whatever happened to Forrest Gump. All right, that's our stacked, everybody. I think we had a good episode today. Besides my Wi-Fi troubles.
Honestly, it was the best yet, I would say.
Oh, because I talked the least? Is that what you're gonna say?
No, just because I think the conversation was scintillating. But okay, if you want to take that.
You're like, oh, you should not talk more. Your wife. I bet Brandon has the plug on my Wi-Fi right now, and he's like, he pulled it out when it was my turn to speak.
No, I have a booster. I'm stealing your Wi-Fi.
Oh, you little.